Hi, I'm Linda Augsburg, Editorial Content Chief for American Patchwork and Quilting Magazine. And in this Show Me How video, brought to you by Baby Lock and the Imagine Serger, we're going to show you how to use your serger to make this fun lunch bag style gift bag. Now this gift bag would be great for birthdays in a balloon fabric like this, anniversaries, weddings, or of course the holiday season in a beautiful metallic. And then you can also make the smaller version, and I thought this was adorable for Valentine's Day or just to show somebody you care. The instructions are available at allpeoplequilt.com/showmehow-gift-bag. And both sizes of instructions are available in that download. Let's get started. This project is super fat quarter friendly. You can get both a large and a small gift bag out of 2 coordinating pieces, fat quarters of fabric. You want to cut 10 by 11 inch pieces, 2 of your front fabric or your outside, 2 of your lining, and then 2 of a heavyweight sew-in interfacing. If your fabric's directional, you want to make sure that the 11 inches is going in the up-down direction, so that in this case my balloons are going in the right direction on my bag. After you've cut those pieces, you also need to cut 1 1/8 by 3, this is a little longer than 3 inch strip of bias fabric. You also need, of course, a button. So I like to trim this strip down once I've decided which button I'm going to use and how long I need that loop to be. Now with that fabric, that little strip, 1 1/8 inch by 3 or more inches that you cut for your loop, you're going to take it and fold it right sides together, and I'm going to use my sewing machine to just sew a nice scant 1/4 inch seam along that edge so that I've got a tube with that seam sewn. Then I'm going to turn it right side out and press. That's going to be my loop that I wrap around the button. So you just want to make sure, since it's such a small piece of fabric to start with and you're on the bias, again, so that's going to stretch a little, you want to make sure that you're very careful about that 1/4 inch seam and turning it right side out. To start, you're going to baste one of the front pieces or the outside pieces to the interfacing that's sew-in. And I just took a scant serger seam. So I'm a little outside of the regular serger allowance. I wasn't trimming anything off, but that just let me sew these 2 pieces together so that they work together better as one and they don't separate as I'm working. I've done that to both pieces for the outside of the bag. Then I'm going to turn those pieces right sides together, making sure again that my direction is the same. I'm going to trim the bottom corners 1.5 inch square out of that bottom corner. So this was 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. I'm going to trim both corners of the outside of the bag, and then I'm going to do the same on the lining fabric, which I've also placed right sides together, and I'm going to trim those 2 1.5 inch squares out of each corner. Then I'm going to sew the 2 sides and the bottom of the bag, and I'm going to sew one side and the bottom of the lining, and then I'm going to serge 1 inch or so at the top, leaving about a 4 inch opening for turning, and then a few more inches here at the bottom of that side seam. I want to have an opening in the side seam so I can turn the bag right side out when it's done. So as I'm serging, I'm just making sure that I keep the fabric out of the way of the blade. I don't want to lose any size in my bag. So I just want to make sure that I'm not cutting any fabric away. So to make the corner into a boxed corner, you just pull the 2 layers apart and line up those edges, and I like to make sure that my seam allowances are going in 2 different directions. And just line that up so it's nice and flat, and then we'll serge over that cut edge as well. So that's what makes that boxed corner in the lining of the bag. Before you actually sew the front to the back, you want to make sure that you attach that bias loop. Now you can make that loop as long as necessary to go around your button. That's why I left a little extra length. Depending on how much you want the bag to fold over and how large your button is, you might need a little extra fabric. Once you've decided how long it needs to be, trim it off and just baste or serge it in place. So once you've sewn the two outside pieces together and the two lining pieces together, you're going to turn the outside right side out, leave the lining wrong side out, and you're going to slip the outside or the outside of the bag inside the lining, which seems a little counterintuitive, but this is the way it'll go together best. You want to make sure that your seams on the sides are pressed in the correct direction as they are when they're sewn in at the bottom. And once you get it nice and lined up, you're going to serge along this top edge all the way around. So now I've turned everything right side out through that opening in the lining, stitch the lining closed by hand or machine, and tuck it inside the bag. Then I'm going to press along this edge and top stitch 1/4 of an inch from there. So once you've top stitched along that top edge, you'll need to fold or iron some creases into the sides to make this bag fold more like a paper bag typically does. You'll sew the button through the outer and lining layers, giving it a little shank for distance if you need to, so the loop can wrap around it and it's not tight around the fabric. And then just loop the loop over the button and your gift bag is ready to go. For added stability, you can add a piece of cardboard to the base inside the bag, just to give the bag a little more structure. Those measurements are in the PDF, and that PDF is at allpeoplequilt.com/showmehow gift bag. Thanks for joining us.